with me, as you can see next to me, we've got the wonderful Derek Hill. Derek, it's lovely to have you out for a drive with me today.
It's lovely to be out for a drive.
In the hills of Southern California here. And what are we driving today?
Well, this is a 1931 Piercero Model 41, bodied by LeBaron. Yeah, and it's a car that's been in the family since new, so it's got a little bit of a special place in our family.
Yes, and as we've just been discussing off camera, it's a little bit of a land yacht, one might say.
It is, yeah. I mean, every car from this era seems to be, driving a bit of a truck, but there's a lot of elegance, at least in the body styling, to make you believe it's just this fluid, nimble, flowing drive. But well, as you can see, once we get going,
it really is quite smooth.
Yeah.
I mean, and I also love the fact that I get to stare at a pair of metallic buns.
Right.
Wherever you go, it's just pointing you in the right direction.
You just follow the archer.
Yes.
He tells you where you're going.
Yes. I mean, they never thought to put a pair of shorts on him.
No.
I mean, I just want to know where he keeps his arrows. I mean, that's just who it's with.
Exactly. He's just waiting eternally for that one shot.
Yeah, he's got that one. I mean, some may say there's a place for a second arrow, but it probably wouldn't be too comfortable. But, so Derek, obviously, you come from a famous racing family of sorts. Your father might have raced once or twice, possibly.
Yeah,
May have competed maybe once.
Yeah, one or two races,
Yeah.
something like that.
And didn't he drive for this couple small companies in Europe, like an Italian company, I think, maybe once or twice?
They were in fact very small companies, going broke at the time.
Yes.
So yeah, you're right. You're right.
Now it's a little bit different, but
yeah.
And you also yourself have also done a little bit of racing in your time.
I've done a little bit of racing. Yeah, it's something I look back fondly on. Absolutely.
And so you still get to do a little bit of racing now, but not so much competitively, more enjoyment, one might say.
It is enjoyment, although I have to say, driving vintage race cars in England, which I've done quite a bit of, is they take it seriously. It's as much a competition as I ever experienced.
Certainly, it's certainly very much rubbing as racing in regards to that.
Yes.
But
although I wouldn't say rubbing. They might frown upon that a little bit, but you know how the Brits are. I mean, you are one.
Exactly, yes. And Goodwood certainly sees enough of those hay bales getting moved around every year, one might say.
I mean, what is it about the Brits? You might be able to tell me. Why do they live life in such a proper fashion? So polite, but you put a helmet on.
Oh yeah.
You get on the racetrack, what happens?
It's not the red mist, because that'd be much more an Italian thing. I'd say it's a green mist descends. That sort of fits with the fog.
Yeah. It's like you see a whole different character come out.
Exactly. It's all British racing green, and they like to. There is some certainly for the non-competitive competitiveness certainly comes out of those vintage race mates.
You seem pretty calm considering we're in a 1931 car going down a steep hill.
I've got total control in my driver here.
No seatbelts.
Exactly. At this point, no seatbelts, suicide doors. I could just jump out. Surely that's just the way to do it.
Exactly. Just open the door and hang on, because it'll fling you out.
Well, because I could also stand on the runners correctly, and if only I had my submachine gun, it'd be gangster style.
Right. Well, it gives you time to decide where you want to leap out of the car.
Yeah.
Standing on the running boards.
But, I mean, for being a car from that era, it's certainly, while it is snug and tight and you do get to smell and feel everything, it is very comfortable.
Yeah, it is. In fact, every time I get back in this car, I realize that this is a car you could take on really long journeys and you'd be perfectly comfortable, especially if you're riding in the back. It's like a lounge seat back there.
See, the really car does like to perform when you put your foot down there.
It does, yeah. Yeah, this was one of the most powerful engines of the day. I mean, 132 horsepower.
Yeah.
Not bad.
What size engine is it in this?
It's a 385 cubic inch straight 8.
Okay. Yeah. And it must be obviously very nimble, very lightweight.
Oh, yeah, you can tell.
You could just pick it up, light as a feather.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I've got the throttle to the floor, and you can just feel the acceleration. Well, we are going uphill, so actually no, you don't feel it. But it's not doing bad.
No, and I mean, it just feels like you imagine it would. I mean, if there was some room for me in the back, I would have been in there.
Right.
But then it might not have been as good for the conversation in our part and for the listeners and the viewers to watch that one.
No. Maybe we can try that later on so you get the full experience.
Yeah, when you could just, but it is a very, and then obviously you mentioned earlier before we got on here that you use this for a rather special occasion in particular.
That's right. We used it for my wedding, which was about 1.5 years ago. And I really went through it. You have to make sure the car is going to start and stay running on your wedding day, don't you?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the more important things one might have to do for a wedding if you are providing the transportation in that regard.
Right.
I can imagine it might have started, not having a car start might have been a rocky start to a relationship of sorts in that regard.
Exactly. I couldn't tell if I was sweating bullets more about the wedding or the car starting or not.
Yeah.
It was a nail biter. But
yes.
it drove beautifully, and it really is kind of the quintessential wedding car when you look at it. It's just got that elegance, and people these days don't have much patience for
vintage cars.
Yeah. A little bit of a grind every now and then.
But that's, as you meant, there's no synchromesh in this car.
No. So you really do have to get your double clutching right.
Yeah, slow and steady.
Yeah, and you just got to be patient with your gear shifts.
Of course. It does. Well, the grinding of the gears doesn't sound too good, but it does sound good when it is revving though.
Well, and it's really a natural sound for these older cars. You just when you're shifting and getting through the gears, you're going to grind a little bit. That kind of was the synchro mesh of the day.
Yeah. It's just people don't think that now when they're double clutch gearbox that they can press if they need to on their steering wheel.
Exactly. I mean, I can't imagine the fright somebody would feel if they heard their gears grinding like that nowadays. But it's the beauty of the older cars, though. You feel so much more connected mechanically to what's going on.
Yeah, and so this car though has some, not only does it have some personal experience, but also in regards to how you've been, this car I believe was restored by your father?
Yeah, my father restored this, so this was his aunt's car.
Yep.
New.
Yes.
She bought it in September of 1930. He grew up in this car, whether it was going to school. He said it was actually during the Depression years, the Great Depression. And my father used to just cringe showing up at school. And he and his brother used to sort of duck as they got closer to the drop-off point.
I see.
At class, because they really kind of, I guess, felt embarrassed being dropped off in such a, ostentatious beast of a car in a time when frankly people were struggling, but his aunt just loved cars, and she had no shame driving something like this around. After all those experiences, my father then just grew up really appreciating this car and loving it. In fact, this was his car as a daily driver when he became a teenager.
I see.
And he went to USC for a year. That's probably what prompted him to, restore the car. He probably felt it was worthy of going to a car show, entering it. But, after years of flogging it like he did, it was time. And he and his brother decided to give it a full restoration.
Certainly. And then which car show did they take it to? Which small car show was the one that they decided to take it at?
Well, they took it up to the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance.
Okay, obviously a great starting one.
And it was a small Concours back in the day. I mean, it was only the 5th year of the Concours being a car show.
Yep.
And it had started out as a support to the races that they were doing in the Del Monte Forest up there.
Uh-huh.
So you had a lot of the San Francisco dealer types.